The laughter echoed across the Fort Bragg rifle range as Private Johnson pointed at the elderly man fumbling with his M16. "Hey, Gramps, you sure you can even lift that thing without throwing out your back again?" The other recruits joined in, their voices carrying across the concrete firing positions where Staff Sergeant Patricia Miller was conducting afternoon marksmanship training. The old veteran, maybe 70 with silver hair and weathered hands, kept adjusting his grip on the rifle while the young soldiers snickered behind him. "Come on, old-timer. Maybe we should get you a walker to help steady that shot," called out Private Stevens, earning another round of cruel laughter from his buddies. Patricia felt her jaw tighten as she watched the scene unfold. She had been drilling these recruits for weeks on military bearing and respect. Yet here, they were mocking a veteran old enough to be their grandfather. The man wore a simple baseball cap and civilian clothes, but something about his posture told her he belonged on this range more than any of these smart-mouthed kids. What really bothered her was how the old man just took it. He nodded politely at their jokes, even smiled slightly as he continued working with the rifle mechanics. Most civilians would have stormed off by now, but this guy seemed almost amused by their behavior. Patricia stepped forward, ready to restore order and discipline her recruits for their disrespectful conduct toward a veteran, when the old man finally spoke up in a calm, steady voice that somehow carried despite its quiet tone. "Sergeant, if I may," the old man said quietly, his voice cutting through the recruits' snickering. "I'd like to demonstrate proper rifle handling for these young soldiers." Patricia hesitated. This wasn't standard protocol, but something in his tone made her nod. The range fell silent, except for a few muffled chuckles from the back row. The transformation was instant. The fumbling disappeared as the veteran's hands moved with surgical precision. His stance shifted into perfect shooting position, rifle seated against his shoulder like it had grown there. The baseball cap came off, revealing alert eyes that seemed to measure distance and wind in a single glance. First shot, dead center bullseye at 50 yards. The laughter died completely. Second shot, center mass at 100 yards. Private Johnson's smirk vanished. Third shot, bullseye at 200 yards. The recruits stood frozen, their earlier jokes forgotten as they watched this elderly civilian systematically destroy every target with mechanical precision. No hesitation between shots. No adjustment period. Just smooth, practiced movements that spoke of decades of experience. Fourth shot, 300 yards. Dead center again. Patricia felt her breath catch. She had been shooting for 15 years and couldn't match what she was witnessing. The old man wasn't just hitting targets. He was placing rounds exactly where he intended with an accuracy that belonged in textbooks, not on a basic training range. The veteran lowered the rifle and turned to face the now silent recruits with the same gentle smile he had worn during their mockery. The silence stretched across the range like a hell breath. Private Johnson stared at the targets, his mouth slightly open, while Private Stevens had gone pale beneath his helmet. The other recruits shifted uncomfortably, suddenly finding their boots very interesting to examine. Patricia watched the old man set the rifle down with the same careful precision he had used to fire it. His movements were unhurried, professional, like he had done this 10,000 times before. The gentle smile never left his face, but now it carried a different weight. "Thank you for letting me demonstrate, Sergeant," he said to Patricia, his voice still quiet and respectful. "These are good rifles, well maintained." She found herself nodding, though her mind was racing. Who was this man? The shooting she had just witnessed wasn't luck or beginner's fortune. It was the kind of precision that came from years of training, combat experience, and natural talent combined into something extraordinary. Private Johnson cleared his throat nervously. "Sir, we didn't know you could shoot like that." The veteran turned to him with genuine kindness in his eyes. "Son, you never know what someone carries until you take time to find out. We all have stories." Patricia felt a knot forming in her stomach. These recruits had just spent 10 minutes humiliating a man whose skills exceeded anything she had ever seen on a military range. The casual disrespect now felt not just wrong, but dangerously ignorant. The old man picked up his baseball cap and settled it back on his silver hair, preparing to leave as quietly as he had arrived. "Wait," Patricia called out as the veteran reached the range exit. She jogged to catch up, leaving the stunned recruits behind. "Sir, could I ask your name?" "Robert Anderson," he replied, extending a weathered hand. "Most folks just call me Bob." Before Patricia could respond, her radio crackled with an urgent message. "All range personnel report to the command post immediately. Priority Alpha briefing in 10 minutes. She looked at Bob apologetically. "I'm sorry, but I have to respond to this. Are you here visiting someone on base?" "Just passing through," he said with that same quiet smile. "Good luck with your training, Sergeant." Patricia hurried toward the command building, her mind still processing what she had witnessed. Behind her, she could hear the recruits finally finding their voices, their conversations hushed and uncertain. The command post buzzed with activity when she arrived. Major Williams stood at the front of the room, his expression grim as officers and senior NCOs filed in. Maps covered the briefing boards, and Patricia noticed several had red circles marking elevated positions around the base perimeter. "Listen up," the major began. "We've received credible intelligence about a potential sniper threat targeting tomorrow's VIP visit. Senator Hayes will be conducting a base tour, and we have reason to believe hostile elements may attempt an assassination." Patricia felt her blood run cold. A sniper threat. She glanced at the tactical maps showing sight lines and elevated positions, her thoughts immediately returning to the elderly man who had just demonstrated impossible accuracy on her range. Patricia's heart pounded as she approached Major Williams after the briefing. "Sir, I may have information relevant to this situation." The major looked up from his tactical maps, stress lines creasing his forehead. "What is it, Sergeant Miller?" "There was a civilian on my range this afternoon. An older gentleman named Robert Anderson. Sir, I witnessed marksmanship skills unlike anything I've ever seen. 4 shots for bullseyes, distances from 50 to 300 yards. No scope, no adjustment time." Major Williams paused his planning. "Anderson, you said?" He turned to his aide. "Lieutenant, pull up our veteran database. Search for Robert Anderson, marksman or sniper background." While they waited, Patricia continued. "Sir, the precision was extraordinary. My recruits were mocking him before he shot, but this man could place rounds exactly where he intended without hesitation. If we're facing a sniper threat, he might be valuable as a consultant." The lieutenant's computer chimed. "Sir, I found him. Robert Anderson, retired Army. Medal of Honor recipient. Designated marksman, multiple tours Afghanistan and Iraq. Distinguished service record includes confirmed kills at ranges exceeding 1,000 meters." The room fell silent. Major Williams looked at Patricia with new interest. "Sergeant, where is this man now?" "I don't know, sir. He said he was just passing through. But given what we're facing tomorrow, we need to find him. If there's a hostile sniper targeting the senator, Bob Anderson might be our best chance of stopping them." Patricia found Bob Anderson at the base diner, quietly eating pie and drinking coffee. When she approached his table, he looked up with those same alert eyes that had measured distances on the range. "Mr. Anderson, I need to speak with you about a matter of national security." He set down his fork carefully. "I'm listening, Sergeant." She explained the situation quickly, watching his expression grow serious as she detailed the sniper threat. When she finished, Bob was quiet for a long moment. "You want an old man to help catch a killer," he said finally. "I want a Medal of Honor recipient to help save a senator's life," Patricia replied. "Sir, we've identified 3 possible shooting positions, but our best marksman can't effectively cover all the angles. We need someone with your experience." Bob stood slowly, leaving money on the table for his meal. "Show me the tactical maps." 20 minutes later, they stood in the command post as Bob studied the base layout with professional intensity. His weathered finger traced sight lines and elevation advantages, while Major Williams watched hopefully. "Here," Bob said, pointing to a water tower 800 meters from the VIP route. "If I were planning this shot, that's where I'd position myself. Maximum visibility, multiple escape routes, and the angle negates most cover." Major Williams nodded. "Can you counter that position effectively?" Bob looked at Patricia, then back at the major. Give me a rifle and a spotter. I'll make sure your senator gets home safely. Dawn broke as Patricia crouched beside Bob Anderson on the administration building rooftop. Through her binoculars, she watched Senator Hayes's motorcade approach the main gate while Bob adjusted his scope with methodical precision. Winds picking up from the southeast, she reported quietly into her radio. 2 knots, gusting to 4. Bob's rifle, a military-grade M24, remained steady as granite. His breathing had slowed to the controlled rhythm she recognized from sniper training manuals, but seeing it in person felt different. This wasn't textbook technique, it was instinct refined by decades of life-or-death decisions. Movement at the water tower, Patricia whispered, spotting a glint of metal 800 meters away. I see him, Bob replied, his voice completely calm. Hostile has taken position, appears to be sighting the motorcade route. The senator's vehicle moved into the kill zone. Patricia's heart hammered as she watched the distant figure on the water tower adjust his position. Through her scope, she could see the hostile marksman had a clear shot at the senator's limousine. Target acquired, Bob said quietly. Distance 820 meters, wind compensation calculated, breathing controlled. Patricia held her breath as Bob's finger found the trigger. The morning air seemed to freeze as 2 snipers, separated by nearly half a mile, prepared to fire simultaneously. Take the shot when ready, Major Williams commanded through their radio. Bob Anderson exhaled slowly and squeezed the trigger with the same steady precision he had shown on the training range. The rifle's report echoed across Fort Bragg like thunder. Through her binoculars, Patricia watched the hostile marksman on the water tower collapse instantly, his weapon clattering down the metal structure. Target neutralized, Bob said calmly, already scanning for additional threats while the senator's motorcade continued safely toward the command building. Confirmed kill at 820 meters, Patricia reported in her radio, still amazed by what she had witnessed. Threat eliminated. VIP is secure. Major Williams's voice crackled through the radio with obvious relief. Outstanding work. All positions maintain overwatch until the senator departs. Bob methodically cleared his rifle and began breaking down his position, every movement reflecting the muscle memory of countless operations. Patricia watched him work, realizing she had just seen a master craftsman demonstrate why legends were made. How do you stay so calm? She asked. Bob looked up from securing his equipment. Fear keeps you alive, Sergeant, but panic gets people killed. I learned that lesson a long time ago in places where second chances don't exist. Within minutes, security teams confirmed the water tower was clear and the hostile threat eliminated. The senator's visit continued without incident, the VIP completely unaware that his life had been saved by a 70-year-old veteran who had been mocked by recruits just 24 hours earlier. As they climbed down from the rooftop, Patricia realized she had witnessed something extraordinary. Not just exceptional marksmanship, but the kind of steady professionalism that saved lives. Back at the command post, Senator Hayes insisted on meeting the man who had saved his life. Bob Anderson stood quietly in his civilian clothes while Major Williams made the introductions. But Patricia could see the senator studying Bob's weathered face with growing recognition. I know you, the senator said suddenly. Afghanistan, 2003. Operation Anaconda. Your Ghost 6. Bob nodded simply. Yes, sir, that was my call sign. Patricia felt her breath catch. Ghost 6 was legendary among military snipers, a phantom who had protected countless convoys and bases during the worst fighting in Afghanistan. She had heard stories, but never imagined she would meet the man behind them. Major Williams pulled up Bob's complete service record on his computer screen. Robert Anderson, Medal of Honor for actions at Firebase Charlie, where he held off enemy forces for 18 hours after his unit was overrun. Confirmed kills, 237. Distinguished Service Cross, 3 silver stars for bronze stars. The room fell silent as the numbers sank in. Patricia thought about her recruits, mocking this man just yesterday, completely ignorant of his extraordinary service record. Senator Hayes extended his hand solemnly. Mr. Anderson, the nation owes you an enormous debt. Today, I owe you my life. Bob shook the senator's hand with the same quiet dignity he had shown throughout the entire crisis. Just doing my job, sir. Same as always. Patricia realized that those recruits needed to understand exactly who they had humiliated on the range yesterday. Patricia found her recruits in the barracks that evening, still talking quietly about the shooting demonstration they had witnessed. When she entered, they immediately stood at attention, but she could see the uncertainty in their eyes. At ease, soldiers. We need to discuss what happened on the range yesterday. Private Johnson shifted uncomfortably. Sergeant Miller, we know we were disrespectful to that veteran. We've been talking about it all day. Do you know who that veteran was? Patricia asked, watching their faces carefully. No, ma'am, Private Stevens replied. Just that he could shoot better than anyone we've ever seen. Patricia pulled out Bob Anderson's service photo from his Medal of Honor citation, placing it on the table where they could all see. His name is Robert Anderson, call sign Ghost 6. Medal of Honor recipient. 237 confirmed kills in combat. He spent 18 hours alone defending Firebase Charlie after his entire unit was overrun, saving over 40 soldiers. The recruits stared at the photo in stunned silence. Private Johnson's face had gone pale as the implications sank in. This morning, Patricia continued, that same man you mocked saved Senator Hayes from an assassination attempt. 800-meter shot. Neutralized the threat with one round. Private Stevens sat down heavily on his bunk. We laughed at a Medal of Honor recipient. We called him Gramps. That's right, Patricia said. One of the most decorated snipers in Army history, and you treated him like a joke. The next morning, Patricia found Bob Anderson at his truck in the visitor parking lot, preparing to leave Fort Bragg. Before she could speak, she heard running footsteps behind her. Her recruits approached at double time, led by Private Johnson. Sir, Johnson called out, breathless. We need to apologize. Bob turned with that same gentle smile, showing no anger despite everything they had put him through. You don't owe me anything, son. Yes, sir, we do, Private Stevens said, his voice thick with emotion. We disrespected a hero. We were ignorant and cruel to someone who deserved our honor. Bob studied their faces, seeing genuine remorse and newfound understanding. You're good soldiers, he said quietly. You just learned an important lesson about judging people before you know their story. Patricia watched as each recruit shook Bob's hand, their earlier mockery replaced by profound respect. Word had already spread throughout the base about Ghost 6's presence and his role in saving the senator. Bob Anderson had become a living legend at Fort Bragg in less than 48 hours. As Bob climbed into his truck, Patricia realized she had witnessed something remarkable. Not just exceptional marksmanship or tactical expertise, but the kind of quiet dignity that defined true military excellence. The recruits stood at attention as Bob drove away, finally showing the respect they should have offered from the beginning. Have you ever witnessed a moment when someone's true skills completely changed your perspective? Share your story about unexpected expertise in the comments below. The briefing continued as Major Williams outlined the threat assessment. Intelligence indicates the hostile has military training, possibly former special forces. Long-range capability confirmed through intercepted communications. Patricia's mind kept returning to Bob Anderson's demonstration. The way he had handled that rifle, the precision of his shots, the complete absence of hesitation between targets. Those weren't the skills of a weekend hunter or casual marksman. Sir, she interrupted, raising her hand. The civilian I mentioned, Robert Anderson. His shooting wasn't just accurate, it was professional level. No scope adjustments, no ranging shots, just immediate precision at multiple distances. Major Williams looked up from his tactical display. Sergeant, we appreciate the information, but we need trained military personnel for this operation. With respect, sir, Patricia pressed, what I witnessed today exceeded anything our current marksmen can achieve. If we're facing a trained sniper, shouldn't we consider every available asset? The major paused his planning. You're suggesting we recruit a civilian for a counter-sniper operation? I'm suggesting we find out who Robert Anderson really is, Patricia replied, because what I saw on that range wasn't civilian-level shooting. It was something else entirely. Major Williams turned to his aide again. Lieutenant, expand that database search. Pull military records, service history, anything you can find on Robert Anderson. As they waited, Patricia felt a growing certainty that Bob Anderson held the key to stopping tomorrow's assassination attempt.